Africa dominates list of the world's 20 fastest-growing economies in 2024. GDP growth for the continent is expected to average 3.8% and 4.2% in 2024 and 2025, respectively. Despite challenging global and regional economic environment, 15 African countries have posted output expansions of more than 5%, calling for larger pools of financing and several policy interventions to further boost Africa's growth. The key global players are swiftly turning their focus on Africa. In practical terms, African leaders are also making strategic choices based on their development paradigms. This economy growth by World Bank is just a case of projection, but the current economic conditions of African nations tell another story. Due to ongoing conflict in the Sahelian region, military coups, political instability, and economic downfall have pushed Africa into downfall until now. What do you think that will African nations rise as per the projected economic growth? What the World Bank says about African economy, and how African people, education, and infrastructure can build the Africa stronger. Most importantly, how 11 countries in Africa can become the epitome of a successful economy. Let's uncover all the questions in this video, so be with us until the end. Initially, the data published by World Bank showed that the Middle Eastern and North African economies were expected to grow 2.7% in 2024, up from 1.9% in 2023. As in 2023, oil importing and oil exporting countries were likely to grow at less disparate rates than 2022, when higher oil prices boosted growth in oil exporters. But as of now, there's a slight change in prediction. The World Bank has projected that growth will rebound in African economies to 3.4% in 2024 and 3.8% in 2025. The African nations are widely diverse, not just in culture and language, but also in economic output. IMF also visualized the 2024 GDP projections for African countries. Here's the list of map of African economies by highest to lowest GDPs. You can pause the video to watch this, or also you can go through the link in description to watch this. Overall GDP of the African continent is $2.987 trillion. After all, this huge economy, high levels of debt are one of the main challenges African economies face going forward. For instance, Zambia is navigating a debt-to-GDP ratio that soared past 70% in recent years. Yet, the country is not alone. 18 countries in Africa recorded a debt-to-GDP ratio of over 70% in 2023, with many of them facing debt distress. Ghana's financial health is also under scrutiny. These instances are not anomalies, but rather stark representations of the debt problem which many African nations are defying. The report by World Bank said that increased private consumption and declining inflation were supporting an economic rebound in sub-Saharan Africa. It, however, said the recovery remained fine due to uncertain global economic conditions, growing debt service obligations, frequent natural disasters, and escalating conflict and violence. However, this recovery remains questionable. While inflation is cooling across most economies, falling from a median of 7.1 to 5.1% in 2024, it remains high compared to pre-COVID-19 pandemic levels. Additionally, growth of public debt is slowing. More than half of African governments struggle with external liquidity problems and face unsustainable debt burdens. Overall, the report underscores that in spite of the projected boost in growth, the pace of economic expansion in the region remains below the growth rate of the previous decade, 2014. And this is insufficient to have a significant effect on poverty reduction. Moreover, due to multiple factors, including structural inequality, economic growth reduces poverty in sub-Saharan Africa less than in other regions. The report said transformative policies were needed to address deep-rooted inequality, sustain long-term growth, and effectively reduce poverty. Before we proceed further, discussing how the Africa's debt problem can be solved by African leaders, and how is this connected with the elections being conducted now, and be one of the fastest growing economies in the world, I'd like to hear from you. Are you finding this video informative? Feel free to share your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. And if you're finding it helpful, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Your support means a lot to us and helps us reach a wider audience and the content that you'll love. Let's continue this journey together. The report highlighted that external resources to meet the gross financing needs of African governments were shrinking, and those available were costlier than they were before the pandemic. It needs to be supported by policies that expand the productive capacity of the private sector to create more and better jobs for all segments of society. Political instability and geopolitical tensions weigh on economic activity and may constrain access to food for an estimated 105 million people at risk of food insecurity due to conflict and climate shocks. African governments' fiscal positions remain vulnerable to global economic disruptions, necessitating policy actions to build buffers to prevent or cope with future shocks. What's more, inequality in sub-Saharan Africa remains one of the highest in the world, second only to the Latin America and Caribbean region, as measured by the region's average Gini coefficient. It stated that access to basic services, such as schooling or healthcare, remained highly unequal in spite of recent improvements. The report called for several policy actions to foster stronger and more equitable growth, and by implementing these policies, the growth prediction about 3.8% can be achieved. To counter these problems, the World Bank in their report said that the Eastern and Southern African region, AFE, boasts some of the world's richest natural resources. The Democratic Republic of Congo produces much of the world's mined cobalt, and Angola leads the region in the production of crude oil. For countries in Southern Africa, precious metals and minerals are the biggest exports, including gold and diamonds from South Africa and platinum from Zimbabwe. Many of these minerals will be in critical need to combat climate change and present a growth opportunity in a low-carbon future. Within the sub-region, the East African community is projected to grow at the fastest pace, 5.3% and 5.8% in 2024 and 2025-26 respectively, thanks to robust growth in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, Rwanda, and Uganda. The World Bank works closely with country leaders, civil society, development partners, and youth in Eastern and Southern Africa to chart a brighter course for the region's future. World Bank also stated that we partner with regional economic organizations, such as the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, the East African Community, and the Southern African Development Community to help countries reach their development potential. People are at the heart of Africa's development, and the region has the potential to be one of the most productive in the world. Between 2030 and 2050, Sub-Saharan Africa will have 90% of the growth in the world's working-age population. Education is the key to helping people break the cycle of poverty. In AFE, 62 million children, adolescents, and youth are projected to be out of school by 2030. The World Bank is striving to help countries reduce learning poverty in the region from 89% to 65% by 2030 and is providing support to countries to expand education systems with more infrastructure, teachers, and materials. Equip youth, entrepreneurs, and higher education systems with the essential skills and training, and empower girls and children with disabilities to stay in school and enjoy more opportunities for building skills. Infrastructure investments are essential to driving economic development in AFE, especially related to reliable and affordable energy access. The World Bank is also stepping up support for critical green and climate-resilient infrastructure to allow people to access reliable and affordable electricity, safe roads, and transportation to markets and services, and high-speed internet that opens up opportunities for communities and businesses alike. World Bank support is helping Sub-Saharan Africa build the foundation for a vibrant, safe, resilient, and inclusive digital economy. Digitization is essential for economic growth, jobs, poverty reduction, and climate actions. AFE is supporting investments in digital infrastructure, skills, platforms, and regulatory regimes to increase broadband connectivity from 34% to 68% by 2030, and also supporting affordability and use. As of now, you're also watching this video through a digital product, where you learn new things, entertain, and get knowledge, so digitization is important for Africa's growth. The World Bank's flagship Digital Economy for Africa initiative has launched 70 digitalization projects in Africa since 2019, with the ambition of ensuring that every individual, business, and government in Africa is digitally enabled by 2030. This is the development agenda of World Bank for African nations, But even after these all problems, and lack of approximately everything for an easy, accessible life. Still, there are 11 countries in Africa that are projecting to experience strong economic performance forecast. These countries are Niger, 11.2%, Senegal, 8.2%, Libya, 7.9%, Rwanda, 7.2%, Côte d'Ivoire, 6.8%, Ethiopia, 6.7%, Benin, 6.4%, Djibouti, 6.2%, Tanzania, 6.1%, Togo, 6%, and Uganda at 6%. As you can see, Niger is one of the top economies even after so much disturbance in the country, military coups, and war-like situation between Western countries and Russia. It's because the area lies in the sub-Saharan region and is rich in natural resources, which includes uranium, coal, gold, iron ore, tin, phosphates, petroleum, molybdenum, salt, and gypsum. Niger has some of the largest uranium reserves in the world. That's why USA isn't ready to leave the country, and has blamed it for helping Iran in their secret nuclear program, which we've already discussed in our previous video. You can watch that by clicking on the link in description. 14. Niger cut ties with US. Do you think that will Africa act on the policies for their economic boost that are told by World Bank in their report? Africa that's been under development due to many reasons, especially the corruption. So now will African leaders think of the development after all this loss? What would be the reaction of USA on this? Let us know your opinions in the comments section, and don't forget to share the video and like, and click on the subscribe button as well for remaining updated of the current trends in this fast-paced modern world. Until next video, stay tuned.